Chapter 8.1, adding and subtracting polynomials. This whole chapter is going to focus on a combination of operations with more complex expressions. But before we get into this, we got to make sure we learn some vocabulary words. In general, the prefix poly typically means many, whereas mono typically means one. And so what you need to know that for is so that when you see polynomial versus monomial, a monomial is one term because mono, of course, meaning one. And then polynomial is one or more terms. So a monomial is a polynomial. So the term itself could be 3x. That is a monomial. You could also call it a polynomial. That's the general phrase. But again, a monomial just means it's only one term. Talking about the degree of a monomial, again, write these words down for yourself. But the degree of a monomial is the number of variables in the monomial, which we'll talk about in just a second. The degree of a polynomial, which means one or more, is the highest of all the degrees in the group of terms. So what you're going to do to find the degree of a polynomial is you're going to do the degree of each monomial term, and then you're going to pick the highest number. And that's all you have to do. So looking at some examples here, ask what the degree is. This, again, is a polynomial slash monomial, and all you have to focus on is saying that there are 5 x's, there are 3 y's, which means your degree of this is 8. That's it. We don't care about the 15. We don't care if it's positive or negative. You just count the variables. That's it. This one here, you have 1c underneath it, so the degree here is 1. Alright. The next one, looking just at the number 245, well, if you ask yourself how many variables are attached, there are no variables. That means that this is a degree of 0. Again, that's because there are no variables in that problem, so that has a degree of 0. And then if you get one that has more than one, this is what you do. You take each term first. So the first thing you do is you look at this and say this is of a degree 3. This is 1 plus 3, which makes it a degree 4. This is a degree also of 4. And looking at those numbers, you pick the max. Alright, so the maximum number is 4. So the highest number there is 4, so therefore you just use the 4. You don't add them up. You don't say 4 plus 4. You don't do anything special. You just simply take the highest of the number in there. So this would be a 4th degree polynomial. Alright. Simplifying polynomials is tricky. I don't think it should be tricky, but again, I do suggest that you're careful when answering questions from this section, which brings us to our essential question, which is, why should I be careful and practice these rules as much as possible? Let's just think about something. You just took a test, or we just took a test on exponent rules, and that's where we learned that x to the third times x to the third is x to the 6th, because we took 3 x's there, 3 x's there, which made 6 x's. The problem is, now that we're combining like terms, x to the third plus x to the third is actually 2 x to the thirds. And you don't make it 2x to the 6th, and that's usually where people are going to mess up because they don't practice it. So again, remember that when we combine like terms, we don't change the name. We have 1x to the third over here. We have another 1x to the third here, which means when you put them together, we have 2x to the thirds. So that's what you have to be careful of. If you don't practice these problems like you're supposed to, you're almost guaranteed to miss a few points just from a glitch that it happens whenever you're working through all the rules and trying to learn the rules and still juggling everything. And again, it's happening. I've seen it happen to good students for years, over many years. So again, make sure you take this seriously. It looks easy, but when you take the quiz, if you have not practiced, if you have not done enough background work, it will trick you into making a bad choice. So let's look at 5 examples, and then let's call it a day. If you're asked to simplify, again, this is a general form. It means write in the simplest form possible. When it says simplify, sometimes it means divide, sometimes it means multiply, add, or subtract. So when you see it, you must look and say, this is asking me to subtract, or add, pretty much is what it is. Subtraction is addition. So what we're going to do is say we've got d to the 5th and d to the 5th. They are what we call like terms. You simply do 18 plus negative 19, which we obviously know. But if you had to do that, you do 18 plus negative 19, which is negative d to the 5th, or negative 1d to the 5th is what it would be. I don't know if the computer that I programmed on that will want just d to the 5th. I think I messed up and did that, but either way, that's what you're looking at. When you're looking at this one, you have 24 eighths to the ninth k to the fifth minus 32 eighths to the ninth k to the fifth minus 27 eighths to the eighth k to the fifth. Very complex parts, but again, the name has to be the same. So what you do is you ask yourself, is there anything else with 9 a's and 5 k's? Yes, there is right there, but that's not the same. And so you can't put them together unless they're exactly the same. You then put these two like terms together, 24 plus negative 32, which is negative 8. And again, the name does not change. 8 to the ninth, k to the fifth, and then this just comes down for the ride. So your answer is negative 8 eighths to the ninth k to the fifth minus 27 eighths to the eighth k to the fifth. Again, make sure you don't fall for the fact that all these things get added and don't get confused in how they look. And it's just, like I said, you have to make sure you practice this stuff. Make sure you get a few mistakes out of your way so that you don't make those mistakes when it counts. On part C, on the ones that require you to show steps, the first thing I want you to do, kind of like we did earlier, is show the first step, which is writing it without the parentheses. So the first thing I want you to do is rewrite it this way. So 11b to the fourth minus 16b squared. Plus sign is weak, so we just bring out what's there. So minus 3b to the fourth plus 2b squared. And your second step is simply to put your like terms together. 11b to the fourth minus 3 makes 8. Again, b to the fourth. Negative 16b squared, positive 2b squared. If you don't know what it is, put negative 16 plus 2. It'll tell you that it is minus 14b squared. So pretty much we're way back in chapter 1. The difference is it's going to be a lot more complex. There's going to be a lot more stuff going on in this. So it's not hard. It's just, again, you got to make sure you're taking your time and make sure you're practicing this skill. D. This is tricky because you've got to be careful. Whenever we write it without the parentheses, which is why I want you to practice writing it without the parentheses. Yes, that makes a negative 16k to the fifth. But if you remember way back in chapter 1, that turns into a positive 2k squared. So again, yes, that stays the same and that stays the same, but you've got to remember back from chapter 1 that this negative means that we switch everything on the inside. So this negative 16, positive 2. Now you put your like terms together. 5 minus 16 is negative 11 k to the fifth. 2k squared. 2k squared makes 4k squared. Alright. And then the very last one, E. Again, it's just a subtraction. That's what this simplify is. So we write it without first. So 9x to the fourth plus 7x to the third minus 1 minus 2x squared plus 3x because that's a minus, and then minus 2. Again, don't forget these all should be opposite of what they are. From there you put it together. Again, just writing it the best form possible means you want to go highest power to lowest power. 9x to the fourth does not have anything to go with, so we bring it down as 9x to the fourth. Then we look at 7x to the third, and it doesn't have anything to go with, so we write plus 7x to the third. 2x squared has nothing to go with, so we bring it down. 3x, nothing to go with, so we bring down 3x, and then 1 and negative 2 make negative 3, and that would be our answer. Alright. Again, just remember to practice this. Many of you were really close to being able to earn extra credit this week, or this last chapter. When I looked at your work, you only had a couple points, a couple assignments that were holding you back. And I guarantee it's because you started to work too late. Like I said, a lot of people failed that first quiz before they realized how much work they needed to do, and then they kicked in, and then they barely missed the deadline to be able to do the homework or the extra credit. That extra credit improves your score by 10%, and actually, if you do both of them, it adds 10% to your quiz and 10% to your test. So make sure that you think about that before you get too far behind, and before you start to think, okay, I think I want the extra credit, now I've got to do extra work, now I've got to try to stay and come early and do all that stuff. Do your job now, and if you can do the work early, then you don't have to do the work late. So again, make sure you're taking this seriously, because this is a very important chapter. It's ending up your third quarter, and then the second part of this is going to be starting the fourth quarter. So again, make sure you ask questions, take care of business like you need to, and make sure you answer the question at the end of this video. Good luck.